In this episode of Retiring Today, we continue our superhero series with the superpowers of compound interest.
If you haven't taken advantage of this superhero yet, don't worry, it's not too late.
We'll discuss the power of compound interest and strategies to help you maximize this superhero right now on Retiring Today.
Welcome to Retiring Today. We're continuing our superhero series today. Today's superhero, compound interest. We've done a lot of episodes on superheroes that can supercharge your retirement. You can go to YouTube, search Merkle Retirement Planning, and see the episodes we've done on the other superheroes: life insurance, non-qualified accounts, HSAs, and the power of the Roth. I'm sitting next to Abby Huntrod. She is a CFF and a retirement income certified professional, and this is Loren Merkle. He's also a CFF and a certified financial planner. We are talking today about compound interest. And Loren, I've heard you say it a few times. The eighth wonder of the world, really?
Yes, of course. If you think about all the other wonders of the world, how magnificent they really are, the eighth wonder of the world of compound interest is one that really hides away until you actually start to realize how powerful it can be. Unfortunately, most people don't really get to see the power of compound interest until the last phase of their investment career prior to retirement, because it does take so long for that money to continue to build and build and build. So it's extremely powerful, but you have to invest time, energy, discipline, and sacrifice to really make it that much powerful for you.
Okay, Abby, so before we get into compound interest and how it can supercharge our retirement, let's define what it is.
Yeah, let's just start with a simple example to make sure everybody has a good foundation to start from today. So simply speaking, compound interest is the interest that you earn on your interest. So let's say hypothetically you invested $10,000 in year one, and you were going to earn 5% interest each year that money remained invested. So in year one, 5% of $10,000 would be $500 that you would earn. But then in year two, instead of just earning that 5% on the $10,000, now you're earning 5% on the $10,500. And so that builds over time kind of in an exponential way, and like Loren was referring to, then puts you in a position later in life where you really benefit from the time that your money remained invested.
That's right. Given the same rate of return, you earn more dollars, but you can see just in that simple example, from year one to year two, you earn $25 extra that year too, which doesn't seem all that significant to most people when they're talking about funding the rest of their life in retirement. But you see the year following that, then you would earn an extra amount, and the year after that, an extra amount. And then as you go over the next 20 to 30 years, that's really where you see this superpower take hold of your retirement savings, which is really going to allow you to accomplish your retirement vision.
And is compound interest really the reason why they say, when you get that first job out of college, put that 3% in, even though it might hurt a little bit? I mean, that's really, when people give that advice, even if it's a little, it turns into a lot later.
Yes, most definitely. And it's also why when you're 25, maybe 30 years old, you've saved for a couple years, and you don't really feel like you're making much ground on your retirement savings, and then something happens. Something happens, your car breaks down, or some inevitable life event takes place, and you say, okay, I have this $5,000 here in this IRA or a 401k plan. I'm just going to cash it out. It's no big deal. Pay some taxes and penalties, not realizing the true effect that is going to have on your ability to retire the way you want to retire later down the road in retirement. It's really a tricky thing, because you really can't visualize when you're 25 or 30 how powerful it's going to be for you later down the road, especially based on the experience that you've had thus far, with it seemingly growing so slowly in the first few years of investing.
And Abby, you've got an example that can kind of really show us how powerful this superhero is.
Yeah, we just wanted to demonstrate kind of the benefit of time. We have heard start young, you're going to benefit the most in the long run, the earlier you start. So we have Tim, Tammy, and Ted, and they all invested the same amount of money. So all three of them invested $1,000 a month over a 10-year time frame. After that 10-year time frame, they stopped that monthly contribution of $1,000. So same rate of return. I think we used a 7% rate of return assumption. But Tim, he saves from the age of 25 to 35. And over the course of that 10 years, if we fast forward then to his age 65, his portfolio balance grows to a little over $1.4 million. Meanwhile, Tammy, she saves from age 35 to 45, so she has a little less time that her money is invested, over the course of her lifetime, and her portfolio grows to $734,000. And then lastly, we have Ted. And Ted, gets a little bit later start. He starts saving at 45 and he saves until he's 55. At his age 65, then his portfolio has only grown to $373,000. So that's a pretty simple example just to demonstrate, really the value of how that compounding works over the course of maybe 10, 20, 30, 40 years.
And Loren, you kind of alluded to it. Life gets in the way, the car, the kids, the house, the medical bills, whatever it might be. So you do see people sometimes have a lot of reasons why they aren't taking advantage of the superhero.
Most definitely, and that's why there's a lot of people who are maybe 40 years old, even 50 years old, who don't have what they would consider to be a substantial amount of retirement savings. And if that's you, you're not alone. There's a lot of people in that demographic or age group that feel exactly like you. The good news is that does not mean it's too late. There are many people who start later on in life with savings and can still use compounding interest, this eighth wonder of the world, to their benefit. Because if you have 20 years left prior to retirement, or even 15 years left prior to retirement, most people hope to be retired for at least the next 15 to 30 years. So that's a lot of time frame that you can use to your benefit to take advantage of this superhero.
And we're talking about rates of return, presumably talking sometimes about the stock market, and that can be sort of something that people aren't always wanting to get into to make this compound interest work.
Well, especially lately, we've seen some pretty wild rides in the market the last, few months for sure. And that is, just a common concern. Hey, I don't want to lose money. Maybe I do feel like I'm a little bit behind the 8 ball as far as my retirement savings goes. And so I really want to be conservative and protect what I have saved. Well, the challenge with that is, like Loren referenced, most people plan or will hopefully be retired for, 20, 30 years. So you really have a lot of time that you need to invest, for longevity, to keep up with inflation, to make sure that we can have sustainable income depending on the resources that you have available to you. So the market volatility can really provide an opportunity as long as your setup and your portfolio is designed in a way that allows you to take advantage of that volatility. And that's one of the strategies that we'll touch on a little bit more. So don't be fearful of market volatility, but just understand the purpose that it serves in your comprehensive plan, and hopefully then you can be okay with a little bit of market risk in the portfolio.
And Loren, what about when people come to you and say, I'm debating between paying off my mortgage and taking advantage of compound interest? How do you advise that?
I say, let's do the analysis. Let's take a look at your entire situation, see what you've already saved for retirement, see what your mortgage amounts are, how much longer you have in the duration of that mortgage, what the interest rate is, and then let's make a real intentional decision based on your specific circumstances. So the answer to that generically is all over the board, right? There's not a generic answer to that. Some people are going to apply more to their mortgage. Some people are going to apply more to the compounding interest that goes with the retirement account, just depending upon what your specific situation is.
Okay, so if you're watching and you kind of like where this is headed and you think you want to take advantage of compound interest, but you're wondering if it's too late, it's not. We'll talk about some strategies that you can employ starting now when Retiring Today continues.
With the current state of the markets, are you worried about what the future might hold for your retirement? Take advantage of learning opportunities through our online workshops. Learn if your retirement is still on track and discover income, tax, and investment strategies from the comfort of your own home. Go to merkleplan.com to view course offerings and sign up today. Take control of your retirement. Sign up today.
Has the recent market volatility put your retirement plan to the test? See if your retirement is still on track by scheduling a retirement checkup with Loren Merkle. During this 15-minute phone call, we'll discuss if your retirement plan could be disrupted by long-term market volatility. We'll also analyze your current tax plan and provides strategies on how to take advantage of the market. Go to merkleplan.com and click Book Now to schedule your retirement checkup today.
Welcome back to Retiring Today. We're continuing our superhero series, and check out the superhero today. It is compound interest flying in to supercharge your retirement vision. These two can also help supercharge retirement visions. They're Abby Hunt-Rods and Loren Merkle, and they sit down with people every day and help them write out comprehensive, customized retirement plans. And part of that is, Abby, using guiding principles. There's 5 guiding principles that we use at Merkle Retirement Planning, and the superhero today kind of helps guide 3 of those.
It does. So we have the Merkle Retirement Method we've developed over the course of helping hundreds of families retire. And those 5 guiding principles that are incorporated within that method are the income planning piece of it, tax planning, the investment planning, and then there's the healthcare and long-term care planning, and finally the legacy planning. So today, when we're talking about how to use compound interest to maximize what it is that you've done from a retirement planning standpoint, we're really going to touch on the income planning, the investment planning, and the tax planning principles within the method.
So if someone's getting close to retirement, how can they put this superhero to work for them?
Well, first you have to figure out where are you at. So we have to have a starting point to figure out how to get to where you want to be. Where are we starting now? And then try to identify what are your target goals for retirement. Do you want to work for the next 15 years? Do you want to work for the next 20 years in an ideal world? And then it's about putting the plan together to say, is what you're trying to accomplish, does it work? If so, what are the action steps to take in between the start and the finish to allow that to work? And if it doesn't work, what does that look like? Do you have to work an extra 20 years or an extra 20? What does that really look like? And then along the way, there needs to be specific action steps identifiable to you based on your situation to enable you to get to that end.
And Loren kind of referenced, do you want to work or realistically, do you want to retire in 10 years, 15 years? What does that look like? But I think it's also important to just take a step back and kind of think about, what does that retirement vision look like for you? How do you hope to spend your newfound freedom, your time? Because, we think about when we spend the most money now, it's probably when we're not at work on the weekends. Retirement is, in theory, a 30-year weekend. So really trying to hone in on, what does that lifestyle look like? Because that's going to be a big determiner in, how much do you have to have saved for retirement, and how do you maximize, to accomplish those goals.
And Loren, because of the power of compound interest, do you sometimes sit down with people, talk about their vision, their investments, where everything is at, and look at it and go, if you work 6 more months, 1 more year, we can really take advantage of this superhero, and then you can get to your goals?
Yes, we certainly do. We do a lot of what ifs within the planning scenarios because life is full of what ifs, and especially when you're looking at such a long time period, we can sit here and say we have a pretty good idea of what our goals, what our desires are going to be 10 years from now. But you know how it works. 5 years from now, we could completely change course, or life changes course for us. Either way, we have to make adjustments along the way. And as you alluded to at the beginning of the show, Molly, there are a lot of superheroes. So if we can get as many of those superheroes to work on your behalf to accomplish your retirement vision, what a powerful, powerful way to really maximize your hard work, your labor, your discipline over the years of putting this savings into play for you to help you accomplish your best retirement vision.
Yeah, it's like the Justice League of superheroes for retirement. Like Loren said, everybody's retirement is a little bit different. The questions that you have about your retirement are going to be different than other people's questions. So here's a neat opportunity to ask about your specific situation. You can schedule a 15-minute retirement checkup call with one of the retirement planners here at Merkle Retirement Planning. It's complimentary. Go to our website, merkleplan.com, and you can get right on the calendar of our advisors and get scheduled for 15 minutes to ask them the questions about your situation. So continuing to talk about compound interest, Abby, we can't talk about, I don't think, hardly any of the pieces of retirement planning without talking about taxes.
Taxes are a very important piece within the overall plan. One of the biggest wealth eroding factors for most retirees, because once you retire and you have kind of this limited pool of resources. Well, as taxes fluctuate and legislation changes, you're just subject to whatever the IRS decides if you haven't already implemented some proactive planning and built out some different tax diversification within your portfolio. So that's something that we talk a lot about. If you watch the show much, you certainly know that. And it's another one of the areas where, from a compound interest standpoint, if you had to choose, do you want to pay tax on the compound interest over 30 years, or do you want that compound interest to be tax-free? Which would you choose?
Right.
Yeah, so that's part of what we want to identify. If you have an opportunity, or if you think that you're going to be in a similar or potentially higher tax bracket in retirement, which we feel like taxes historically are low right now. If you look at what tax rates in the past have been, there's a lot of evidence for that. We think taxes are going to go up. So, maybe we should look at building out some of that diversification to help maximize the power of the compound interest in the portfolio.
Loren, with all the stock market volatility lately, people might be wondering, how does the superhero work when that's at play?
With this type of volatility that we've seen this year, there's a lot of parallelization that has come into effect when it comes to investing, or when it comes into just mindset of what do we do? I mean, we haven't seen this type of volatility since the Great Depression, which means most people haven't seen this type of volatility before. So there's more questions out there than there are answers. So the good news is, when it comes to volatility, market volatility can be a really powerful thing for you, especially if you couple it with the tax planning strategies and the power of compound interest. When the market goes down, if it makes sense from a tax perspective for you this year to engage in some of these tax strategies like a Roth conversion, it may make even more sense with this volatility. The market's down, we take this money, we put it over into the superhero of the Roth IRA, and then when the market comes back up, you get all of that compounding interest tax-free. What a powerful way to just magnify your wealth and take more control over your retirement savings. As long as it's underneath this pre-tax bucket, Abby, like you were saying earlier, the amount of tax that you pay on the pre-tax money is at the whim of the IRS. With taxes on sale right now so low, eventually we all think they're probably going to go up. And there's nothing that we can do about it when you take the money out of your pre-tax accounts, or you're mandated to at the age of 72, you're going to pay at whatever ordinary income tax rates exist at that time. Underneath the pre-tax, underneath the Roth or the tax-free bucket, you're not going to have that obligation because you've already paid it. So in times of market volatility like this, if you can couple it and you can time it right, incorporate those Roth conversions when the market's down, it's just going to magnify the power of the superhero of compounding interest.
Now it's time for our Ask the Advisor segment. Deb from Waukee wants to know, she says, I'm no longer working, and she wants to know, can I still put money into a Roth IRA? We'll answer Deb's question and much more when Retiring Today continues.
Has the recent market volatility put your retirement plan to the test? See if your retirement is still on track by scheduling a retirement checkup with Loren Merkle. During this 15-minute phone call, we'll discuss if your retirement plan could be disrupted by long-term market volatility. We'll also analyze your current tax plan and provide strategies on how to take advantage of the market. Go to merkleplan.com and click Book Now to schedule your retirement checkup today.
With the current state of the markets, are you worried about what the future might hold for your retirement? Take advantage of learning opportunities through our online workshops. Learn if your retirement is still on track and discover income, tax, and investment strategies from the comfort of your own home. Go to merkleplan.com to view course offerings and sign up today. Take control of your retirement. Sign up today.
Welcome back to Retiring Today. Before the break, we had this question up on the screen. It came to us from Deb in Waukee. Deb says, I'm no longer working. Can I still contribute to a Roth IRA? And Abby Hunt-Rods, you actually had a conversation with Deb, and how'd that go?
Well, we have a lot of these types of conversations. I mean, I think that this is a common misunderstanding when it comes to the Roth bucket, if you will. And in this case, the conversation I'd had, we had hosted a tax planning webinar, And this individual had some follow-up questions as a result of that, because she actually recently had a conversation with her CPA. Her and her husband had done a very good job saving for retirement, and they had a healthy amount in that tax-deferred bucket, which is oftentimes the most common. And her CPA warned her, you guys are 3 years out from being 72. You're gonna have a tax problem on your hands once your RMDs start. And so, to follow up with that, I just asked her, well, you have 3 years now to do some planning to help try and address that risk or that, problem that you guys are going to be facing in a few years. What are you doing or what are you considering to kind of offset some of that? And she didn't think that she was able to get money into a Roth because she was no longer working, and they were under the impression that you could only contribute to get money into a Roth IRA or a Roth 401k. So we just had the conversation that there's 2 ways to get money into a Roth. You can contribute if you meet certain qualifications, if you have W-2 wages to offset those contributions, and if you don't make too much money that you're ineligible. But you can also, like Loren talked about, do Roth conversions. And whether or not you're working, whether or not you have earned income, does not impact your ability to do conversions. So it is not too late. Deb, you can do Roth conversions. That's certainly one strategy that might make sense.
And even after 72, it still may make sense to engage in some of the Roth conversions or some of the other advanced tax planning strategies. We have many families we work with who are post 72, and they're still as excited as ever to take control over their money and engage in this tax planning, because regardless of how old you are, you still want to get the most out of what it is that you've saved. So whether it's 72, 62, 82, just do the strategies, implement the strategies that are most appropriate for you based on your situation.
And it's important to understand, though, the implications of doing the conversion.
Yeah, there's a lot of consideration. So anytime we talk about these tax planning strategies, you want to make sure that you have a really good idea of what your situation is. Does it make sense? At what rate are you going to pay federal and state tax? Is it going to, increase your Medicare premiums? A lot of people don't realize that Medicare premiums are income dependent. So if you start talking about, doing a $100,000 Roth conversion, you might actually then end up paying more for a couple years on the Medicare side. And then also, if you are still working and you're wanting to do conversions, but you may be also contributing to a Roth IRA, it's important to be aware that those 2 things can work against each other, because if you convert at the level that then makes you ineligible to contribute to the Roth, you're going to have to take those Roth contributions out and do the math to calculate earnings. So it's certainly can get complicated, and you want to make sure that you have a good idea that it makes sense for you and that you know what the implications are.
And to make it that much more exciting, once you convert, as of just a couple years ago, it's a permanent decision. So we can no longer do a Roth recharacterization, which means that if we do the conversion, or if you do the conversion, you can't say whoops and then make it as if it never happened like we could just a couple years back.
And I think this just speaks to the fact that it is complicated, especially to people who don't do it every day. But you guys work with these kinds of nuances every day, and it's why you guys both have a lot of these letters behind your name, because you stay up to date on all the legislation so that it's not incumbent upon the families we work with to do that.
Yeah, our approach is very much proactive. We would never expect our clients to identify these different opportunities. That's what we're here for, is to point out maybe things that you hadn't considered or weren't aware of, because that's really what's going to help maximize your retirement vision and make your life savings go that much further.
So Loren, what's the first takeaway from today's show?
The first takeaway is now is the time. It's been really easy to procrastinate on planning over the last 10 to 15 years because we've been in the midst of an 11-year bull run. And when you look at your account and it just keeps going like this, it's really easy to say, I am on track, everything is in place, neat and in order. And then March of 2020 happens, and now you're feeling, what else? What is next? And am I still in a good position? Are you still in a good position to do what you're trying to do from a retirement planning standpoint? We are in an incredibly lucky spot right now because we came from March of this year, but the market has substantially recovered from then, which means now is an excellent time to get your plan in place for the next time we go through another March. Recessions happen on average every 4.5 years. Even when you retire, or if you're in retirement, you are going to go through a number of recessions over the course of your retirement time frame. So don't be surprised, be prepared, be ready. Now's the time to get your plan in place.
And Abby, what's another thing we can take away from today's show?
I think another thing that's important to remember is even if you feel like you got a late start and maybe you didn't start saving for retirement at 25 or 35, there's still a lot of time for you to benefit from compound interest, not only to retirement, but then throughout retirement. So most people are looking at another 20 to 30 years invested, and that's a long time to benefit from compound interest.
Okay, so compound interest, just one of the many pieces that goes into meeting your retirement vision. Lauren, we talk about some of the other pieces of the retirement vision and the Merkle retirement method at our workshops.
Yeah, at our workshops, we talk about the 5 guiding principles that make up the Merkle retirement method. So I was talking about building your retirement plan. There's 5 guiding principles that go into it that need to be specifically customized to you. So at the workshops, we talk in detail about each one of those. Try to give you some takeaways that you can walk away with to implement almost immediately, or at least put on your retirement plan schedule to implement at a later date to really improve what you're trying to accomplish from a retirement vision.
Okay, so to sign up for those workshops, go to merkleplan.com. You'll see the dates, the times, and the topics that we'll be talking about. There are a couple of other resources we want to let you know about. Again, that's our YouTube channel, that's Merkle Retirement Planning. Our other superhero series episodes are right there. And we've also got a podcast. It's called Retiring Today. Abby's on the podcast sometimes, Anna Maria, our Director of Healthcare, Sean Honkamp, another one of the retirement planners here, and of course, this guy, he's almost always on the podcast as well, so we have a lot of fun with that. But we invite you to watch another episode of this show. It's Retiring Today, and we want to say thanks for watching.
Has the recent market volatility put your retirement plan to the test? See if your retirement is still on track by scheduling a retirement checkup with Loren Merkle. During this 15-minute phone call, we'll discuss if your retirement plan could be disrupted by long-term market volatility. We'll also analyze your current tax plan and provide strategies on how to take advantage of the market. Go to merkleplan.com and click Book Now to schedule your retirement checkup today.
With the current state of the markets, are you worried about what the future might hold for your retirement? Take advantage of learning opportunities through our online workshops. Learn if your retirement is still on track and discover income, tax, and investment strategies from the comfort of your own home. Go to merkleplan.com to view course offerings and sign up today. Take control of your retirement. Sign up today.
From our family to yours, we hope you have a wonderful weekend.
We hope you enjoy the show.
We'll see you next week.